directly from Expo Genetic. We are very happy to know that you are there participating with us once again with us. After all, the lives of Brazilian cattle are full of information, technology, and the best genetics for us to share with you in Brazil and all over the world. So, you are always welcome in our house, and I'm going to tell you something. At this time, I have here a team of experts that really develop a work that make us really proud, and that is a reference of the Brazilian cattle and the worldwide cattle, which is people from Naviraí. I would like to present you Carlos Carvalho Filho, who is here with us, Alan Pfeffer. Hello, welcome, Alan. Enzo technician Rafael Mazão from Destaque Assessoria, and who is a partner of Naviraí. Hello, you are all welcome in Expo Zebu. And talking about Zebu, Nelore, and our work is always so good, right? And when we do something that we really like and we dedicate ourselves to that is really so good. And to share that with so much technology, with so much genetic of quality with our friends from all over the world is even better. But I would like to suggest you something before you tell us everything you know about auctions and all of that. I think it would be nice for us to tell people that are from outside Brazil, how do you see the evolution of our Brazilian cattle over the years, Rafael?
Hi, Hisi. Hi, friend, cattle raiser, and that's here in the Brazilian cattle. Everyone that is following Expo Genetics, that is a very important fair. So the evolution of genetics is going hand in hand with the cattle raising as well. For the past 5 years, the past few years, it's important to observe how this is going together. The evolution of the production systems that have provided such an important result for the country, for Brazil, to become more and more an important generator of or production of food and everything that is produced, and to send this production to the rest of the world that comes from the link, which is the system, the production system that is optimized with a genetic of high quality, right, Claudinho? Yes, easy. And it's very good that you mentioned also that everyone that is here in Brazilian Cattle and through here and in here as well. It's a pleasure to be here. We feel at home, and that is to see this evolution that you are making here, not only through ABCZ TV, and but all of the resources that have taken the Zebu cattle to the rest of the world. You deserve congratulations. And today we're going to talk a bit about how we dedicate to the cattle breeding and cattle raising in Brazil, and what our colleagues from outside Brazil can expect of our genetic. And
Dr. Alan, not only Naviraí, but our country has been doing an excellent job, and we can be proud of ourselves, right? Yes, with
yes, definitely, because in the past 10, 15 years, the Brazilian cattle breeder has been investing in the improvement of cattle. What we've been seeing here with Nelore and the pace that is picking up, that is becoming a breed that can compete with any other breed in the world, is very important, and it's very fast, you know. I think everyone will be able to see the evolution of Nelore that is here present in the Expo Genetic Fair, and we'll be able to prove this. And we are managing to create a change on a national level and international level as well.
We are very happy about that. To see that our country, with your work, and each one of the countries is developing themselves. We are in a process of evolution, and we already have the safety to say that we offer to the world much more quality, much more than volume, than anything like that. The genetic that we have, and the genetic of cut is very technological, and it brings a lot of security in the final product. So I imagine that today, just like you guys are going to be really happy and satisfied, we are okay about the fact that we really offer something with quality for the national international market. It's amazing to see the different numbers from our genetics, and I'm sure that you're going to talk about these numbers for us, right? So I'm going to pass the floor to you so that you can continue this conversation and say how much you are dedicating yourselves to this market, okay?
You see, when we talk about production and productivity, you hit an essential spot, which was security. Brazil has brought to the world, and not only to the inside consumer, but to the international consumer, besides being the main exporter of meat in the world, it's food security. And food security is essential for us to have open doors to over 150 countries and to which we export our country. And besides producing quality meat, and there, it's very important to know that the link between the production chain and genetics, that it's more and more incorporated in the main breeders in the country, such as in Viraí, a major provider of genetics, good genetic in Brazil. This genetics impact on the system that it comes from the young calf and to with going analyzing, increasing the load of meat in the big cattle and in a young, more heavier cattle. And naturally, it's important nationally, internationally. Besides that, the consumer that buys that meat here in Brazil, in the country, and the foreign consumer acquires a product that, besides having food security, is a higher quality product as well. So Brazil not only being is a good exporter and a big one, but a quality exporter, a quality meat exporter as well. And a lot of these cattle raisers here that produce a lot of high-end genetics, and it's important to contribute to this project here. I'd like to ask a question to Claudio in Viraí. What is the goal of genetics in Viraí concerning cattle raising? I believe the utmost goal in Viraí, of Viraí, is to be able to disseminate the good results that we have over the 6 years of selection that we've been achieving in our selection process in terms of functionality, the best results in terms of indices, and really we have been achieving a great consolidation, and that makes it easier for us to see because genetics is something that is disseminated very easily, and it's very additive, and so a bull that is improver, that is enhancer, that we can sell in the market, we can see the results that the animal can bring to genetics. So the focus on Viraí is to put in the market an animal that have gone through the selection process in the past 60 years and that are definitely going to provide a positive result and to achieve the best quality in genetics for production in Brazil and outside the country as well. Yeah, surely. And Dr. Adam, when we talk about the impact of this improvement of genetics for the national herd, Viraí meets all the demands from the markets, right? A small, medium, and large size producer, right? Or cattle breeder. And we see the result this in during usually with big cattle breeders, right? But the small breeders, well, or the small raiser has a fundamental role not only in the this area, but due to the fact that it's close to Viraí, right? Yes, Mazon, definitely. We can see that very clearly in our auctions. The auctions that we have, we sell bulls for the centers that are going to provide semen in large scales for large projects. And we also have the cattle breeders that have a large project that buy a bull and that provide service to collect the semen to inseminate the cows. And we also have the PO cattle that makes it used for its, and also to this calf to be used as meat. And sometimes there is a person that buys the bull that changes the characteristic of a micro region around it. So that's the interesting part. We get all of types of cattle breeders in Brazil. We reach them. Yes, I think it's interesting you mentioned about what Naviraí focuses most on. So we focus on functional animals that are going to be part of many production systems and sizes of production. And for us to be inserted here in the Brazilian market, that is a super competitive market and a very big one, we need to have this balance, let's say, in a very clear manner, because we sell animals for many different supply chains, very intensive, not very intensive. So we need to understand this situation to offer the adequate animals for our customers and clients. It's what was mentioned. We have to try to achieve efficiently and with the result many different types of customers and clients. Yeah, surely. And the people who are in the field like us, we can see how Naviraí provides for this production system. I've been in the north and the south in the country, everywhere, and I see how Naviraí meets the demands and impacts, starting with small breeders up to the big breeders, and we want to show a video that was made with Mr. Juca, and he's a great client, and I say he's is important but he's a small breeder that brings this testimonial here to show how the genetics from Naviraí impacted on his production system, and not only there, but in the region surrounding it. So we'd like to mention to show you the video of Mr. Juca to show how its impact, the impact of Naviraí. My father raised 16 kids, and in time we managed to get some money, make some money, and then we invested it in our lands, in new lands. I bought 2 small farms, and we started with cattle, with strawberry and cattle. Ademir is hearing impaired. He cannot hear, but he does everything. Even insemination he has learned to do. So he looks after the cattle and with a lot of care. And cattle, all of them are his friend. It's impressive the gentleness of the cattle with him, with his treatment. And we are very happy and glad. Our region is more an agricultural region due to the weather conditions. We do have frost, drought, and it's a very mountainous region, but it also has parts that are flat, and it's possible to raise cattle. And the idea was to buy a breeder for the basis of my cattle, and after that, we bought Nelore due to the fame. We watched TV and some rural channels, and bulls are kind of expensive, right? We have to improve our herd, but the government in Mato Grosso do Sul has a very good breed, right? So it's time for us to improve. So it's time for us to spend some money, right? And to spend a little, right? Mr. Juca is really strong, and he used to deal with cattle for food, including calves, and we went slowly, we changed it, and we decided to buy a male cow, and we bought 4,000. Okay, so last week we had 650, and it's already, we can use 500, right, for meat. We have to evolve. We cannot left behind. The people buy cattle from us. And if you don't have genetics, when you go to an auction or bidding process, everybody sits in the chair, and when you have a lot of Nelore, everybody stands up, right? So it was a great day of a lot of emotion, and we called there to acquire or to buy a bull, right? When after that, and we saw and we hammered, we bought it, and the emotion was very big, right? I actually got the chills. Because we had very weak cattle, right? And then we managed to buy high quality bull. It was really moving, very emotional. Even my boy, he was there watching on TV, was thrilled with that, as if it was a goal of their national team in the World Soccer Cup. So it was like that.
I have bought Gigante, and he is young. He is for children, for adults, for elderly. I have made an investment, a real investment. There's been a year that he's here, and I only have nothing else to but thank for him. Genetic for me nowadays is in the first one of the most important things, so that the quality, the genetics makes us advance much more. It's an investment because I want a cattle for meat and for milk, and I am betting on him. Gigante is mine. I don't sell him. I don't land him. He's mine. Giant.
This dream that Mr. Juca had is now spreading throughout the region now, and six, seven arrobas, and what about that in the lower right over there? And now it came from the mother, right? The change is for you to look, and it was mixed breed, and now you have the Nalor. So it's a big difference, right? It's thrilling today for us to look at the cattle there and the origin that came from a bull from Naviraí that was called Baron. That was the beginning of everything. What a thrilling video, right? That shows the potential of the small breeder that bought good quality genetics in Naviraí, and how much that impacted in their farm, right? What is the size of the impact in all the region as well? Not only in the products, but in the meat, in the butchers, where the end consumer or end customer has, and which Brazil is delivering everyone. That's the example of simplicity of Mr. Juca showing here the genetics from Viraí to impact. Yes, exactly. And that has to do with what we mentioned here while the video was showing about sustainability. And it's also something that we're also going to talk about. It's an example of sustainability. We're increasing productivity without having an environmental impact, right? On the other hand, the opposite. Yes, it's very important, right, Claudio, to look at a testimonial like this of a small breeder and for him to be so happy, right? And the most important part is for that he believed in genetics, he saw the result. And a lot of people that have a bull that is not an enhancer has to go over this hurdle, because if you use genetics, you don't go back, without a doubt. And we had a survey last month, and Ricardo Abreu and I, that is the manager of fostering programs of BMDC, and we would have here in Brazil a deficit of over 180,000 breeders to be included in the national herd, cattle herd. So we have a very high deficiency to meet the demand with quality breeders. So there is still a major absorption of cattle that doesn't bring the improver or the breeder can enhance or can bring to the cattle herd, which are the benefits that will impact. And we saw this in a testimony, and we have to see that a breeding bull will have a lot of results to the system. And now that you mentioned this, the breeding bull, and I'd like to ask you, and within the tools that we have inside Viraí, what I would like you to mention the tools and the importance of each one of them in the national cattle breeding, and within Aviraí, what they bring to the producer, the breeder, the advantages. Aviraí in Brazil has the capacities and the cattle breeders in Brazil have an amazing capacity of absorbing technology that is something unheard throughout the world. We absorb that and we put it in the production system. All of this, the technologies, and we absorb it, we adopt them, cutting edge technology, and we put it within the production system with a lot of enthusiasm and intensity. But I do think that, and I'm going to mention a lot of technologies here, but I do think that, as I usually mention, there are some differentials. And the first technology that is the most basic that brings results, the breeding season, because there are a lot of selection. We talk about selection, right? And for us to achieve, to stabilize the zootechnical indices and to go after them, the first thing we need for us is the breeding season, because it's going to show the characteristics that you have to select better. And one thing that is another differential as well is that over the 60 past years of selections, we have a very good base, because what we selected 6 years ago are basic traits that are still very important within our selection, which is to get rid of cows that do not get pregnant within the breeding season, or there are other animals that have too large tits, and cows that do not want their calves and too much pigmentation. So these are characteristics that we consider in Viraí, and which is a functional type, and it's what we're talking about: a good pigmentation with sexual characteristics that are very evident. And when someone acquires something in a semen, an embryo from us, it involves a 60-year package of technology. And besides this, we still have the breeding season for 30 years now, and transfer of embryos for 30 or 40 years ago we started doing. And we have a lot of in vitro fertilization, IVF, and we had 3 programs of genetic enhancements, which is Embrapa, BCZ, and other institutions. So we went through efficiency tests of feeding efficiency tests. All of the animals from the breeding season, all our young, they have a genomic analysis, and they go through this genomic analysis. We identify characteristics in the male cows, and all of the female cows, and all our group, it starts in the breeding season in 12 months. So they're very precocious. So the animals that are within this selection, they're really precocious. We don't take to up to years, and a very high fertility rate. We get 80%, and in the past 4 years, and 80% of pregnancy in the super precocious cows. And so our production system is very effective, and I believe that all our technologies that are available to the market, Viraí, we use them. And I keep saying that the main differential is to have this care to look for these characteristics and traits that take long to be gotten, especially animals that have the functional biotype and within the breeding season. And when we travel, and the past few years we went to Costa Rica and Panama as well. I have a lot of contact with Paraguay, Bolivia, Colombia as well, right? Colombia. And we travel and we see their production systems. We see that what really is going to make a difference are these basic traits. breeding season that is very well conducted and conducted, and that's the moment for us to go with genetics to improve the selection indices within that system of production that we're gonna in which the animals are gonna be put. So I'm gonna ask to show the video of the matrices of the cows in Viraí that are helping us here. It's very important, Dr. Alan, and he is a veterinarian doctor, and is always very careful. He's always very close to the reproductive part in Naviraí, and the breeding season impacts so much in this and in other herds as well, because they come from a smaller breeding season uh, that are very important, and that encourages the super precociousness, and it's completely inserted within the selection of Viraí and coming from the reduced breeding season, right? And that impacts not only the cows that are precocious, but also the oxen that are also the male cattle that are we have seen, and in the selection of the male cattle, we are in the leadership of the most super precocious males that produce semen, and this has happened for the 20 past year in the female cattle, and that is a low durability characteristic, and that's why it's so important to focus in this fertility, not only in the guiding of the matrices, but also considering the super precocious in concerning the sexual puberty challenge, right? Yes, as Claudine has already mentioned, I also believe that the breeding season is extremely important tool for us to evolve in this genetic selection. And something else that the breeding season causes is a more uniformity within the animals that are in the farm within this production system. And the cattle that are too large are not going to be able to be there and to remain, and the too small are not going to have the same average. So you can uniform to make it more uniform your herd, and it's what we've been saying a lot. It's the basic within the farm, right? We have to do what's basic. The first thing, we have to start from the basics within the farm so that we can move on and do it very well. So we can move on to discard considering genetic assessment. These indices are super important. If you don't have a season breeding that is not well done and too many calves are being birthed, you won't be able to replenish the female cows and as you wish. And if you don't have a breeding season, you won't be able to go to the next step, and you need to put in the herd some animals that you wouldn't like to put. And so perfect. We want to follow your work, and we see it every day, and we can see that how Aviraí is very careful in the selection of the female that stay in the herd, not just through the voluntary discard, but the involuntary as well. The discard that you have with the matrices that are functional in every sense, due to the quality of being a generate and a birth, and in terms of health, and when it comes to longevity as well, taking good care of their calves. And we see how that impacts in the production system. We were talking about this in the backstage, how much longevity is important. So it's a matrix that births three calves in the system. Before that, they are not cost effective, and Naviraí really values this in the production system. It has to be precocious, to birth soon, and to birth a lot, right? All of these two, right, are important in the production system that is functional and the search for a functional animal. And this balance that Naviraí looks between an animal between being productive and being having a functional type is extremely important, right? And an evidence of this is Aviraí has shown something different from the market, which is the type with genetic analysis, as no other brand can do this, as other companies, and this impacts directly in the production system as well. I'd like to ask a question, Dr. Allen. What do you think that impacts the most, or what are the factors that impact the most the genetics in Naviraí in beef cattle. In beef cattle, it's what you mentioned. It's the biotype that Naviraí has been searching for almost 6 years now. Actually, has achieved for the past 6 years, and the genetic evolution that is constant in the indices of genetic assessments, all of the parts that are important. And to align this, to join this with the functional biotype to be a medium-sized animal, large mouth, a large body size, this is very important for us. It's our goal, and we're also always trying to improve the indices, the genetic indices. I think this is fundamental, and that's what makes a difference and what people look for when they ask for the type of genetics in Aviraí. It's this biotype aligned to a very genetic structure. And of course, when we align this type, especially considering this genetic improvement programs, this result that impacts and financially the system as well, it comes from an animal that is heavier and the carcass value that is very important. That's what we see that Aviraí has been doing within the economic characteristics that impact in the system, right? Yes, I think that Naviraí it has this criteria of selection for the functional criteria that are not written down in the genetic assessment paper forms that is very strict. And we do know that since we live off of it and we were born into it, and we have a team that is concerned with these animals that are functional and are more efficient in the production system, when we have the multiplier animals of semen and embryo, these animals went through a selection process that was very thorough, and the main advantage for our customers is to have a differentiated basis. I believe it's really hard within the Nonor breed to have a basis of matrices without going through the genetic part in Aviraí, since I am suspicious by saying this, but we can bring an animal to the market that benefits from the past 50 and 60 years we've been working on. The consistency in the results of Aviraí, we see we have tests in so many herds, and we see how we were really impressed how this impacts the homogeneity and within the production. Without a doubt, Aviraí is the best brand in terms of phenotype, and especially in the reproductive and breeding results. That is uniform weight after weaning a calf, and the use of carcass when they are younger and with better quality of the meat and the beef that are characteristics within the selection, right? Both for the profitability and also these other characteristics, and matrices as well that are very precocious, functional, that live long, and they have a motherly qualification that is very important. So this integration with genetics and bringing results as well, this high genetic potential as well shows us very clearly that Naviraí has a very big concern when it comes to sustainability. I'd like you to mention this and concerning sustainability. Why do we need to improve genetic characteristics and to have sustainability? What is the relation between this? I believe that we have always been concerned with productivity per area, and we know that with the increase of the number of calves of cattle by area and the efficiency by considering an area, we can increase. We have a carbon footprint that is positive instead of being negative. So we can optimize these characteristics and what we can produce in specific area. It's a lot more with efficient than with a system that is not intensive. So we are always based on animals that have a big response to intensive handling, And with genetic, we are able to get this constantly, to evolve constantly. Every year that is passing is we are sequestering more carbon and putting it back into the soil. So I believe that the sustainability of the genetic improvement of the production intensive production system, Embrapa showed this very well. And we've been managing to do this with in a very intensive manner to produce more meat and beef per hectare and calves also. And every year we increase this production more, the more we sequester carbon and more sustainable we are. And I believe that production system as a whole is going to be molded. We reuse manure, we use more natural sources. In Naviraí, here we have a lab of on farming biological farm labs to do reduce the quantity of pesticides that we have in the pastures, and I believe that Navire is always connected to this characteristic of sustainability. Yeah, especially the integration with cattle breeding, right? Yes, that makes a whole of a difference, without a doubt. Then with the optimization of resources and optimizing also the area throughout the year, right? Yeah, right, Claudine. Yes, sure. And I believe that if we get the figures of productivity of the areas both in Santa Marta and in the Chácara in Uberaba, the small farm in Uberaba, maybe we have maybe 10 farms in the world can produce what we produce by hectare. And we see that this production is more and more using natural resources more often, and the byproducts of recycling, of biological areas, well, and that's the way to go for us to increase the productivity in the rest of the world, and without increasing our environmental or carbon footprint. We can actually deliver more to the environment and in all areas following the protocols that are national. And Brazil certainly is one of the countries in the world that values the most the environment, that cooperates to preserve the environment. And no other country in the world has such strict environmental laws, and the way they are dealt with or they are uh, abide by. And we're very close to 100% compliance, right? Yes, and everything that Anna mentions, all of the work of qualification of improvement in genetics and the workforce as well that is very valued within the company, and it brings results to the final product. And this final product will be here in Expo Genética and in the pavilion or in the stand of Naviraí. We would like to invite everyone here to come to look at the stand, see the progenies of the main bulls of Naviraí. They'll be shown on display some animals that were of genetics made by Naviraí and bulls as well, right? And if you want to look at the bulls that are going to be auctioned in Leilopec and August 28th, and on Sunday, the most important one auction of these auctions is during the Expo Genética. So at the beginning, at the top of the crop is here, and that let's invite them for people watching here, the audience, for breeders of anywhere in the world and from Brazil. Let's ask them to come here to the cattle auction and to look at the animals here in the pavilion. So everyone who's here, we have a pavilion that has some of the bowls that were made by us, and people who can even videos of Naviraí, of Santa Marta Farm that is far from here, videos of the Naviraí Chácara. Also, if you want to schedule appointment to go there, we can do it. And we can see the bulls that are going to be auctioned at Lelo Pack here, and it's very near the park. And we can exchange a lot of ideas. Naviraí is present here in Expo Genética, and we're here to exchange ideas, and especially through the social media such as Instagram. It was very important to remember this, right? Because let's mention here some the channels of the social media, WhatsApp contact of Anaviraí Farm, and the team of Anaviraí is going to be ready to provide services for you or any time of the year. The contact will be here, WhatsApp, which is 3433194000, and you can access here. And more than this, for you who are a breeder, a foreign breeder connected to Brazilian cattle, get in touch with Anaviraí. See if you have the protocol for export of programs of animals and semen. Get in touch with the commercial team of Anaviraí. We're all just available to meet your demands and to have good businesses, right? That is important, right, Claudine? We have so much demand from countries from Latin America and Central America also coming up, waiting for and asking for our genetics here, and they will all be welcome to get in touch with us, right? And Honor is ready to go to all of these places, right? Great. And now we'd like to finalize by thanking all of the Brazilian cattle team, especially from BCZ TV that enabled this live streamed live, and everyone from the team that they're here together with Claudinho and Dr. Allen come here to Expo Genetica and make good business during this week.
That's it. When we have a lot of dedication to talk about that, we talk a lot with a lot of quality. Therefore, I would like to thank you so much for accepting our invitation to talk about Naviraí's work and share this work with everyone else. The work that you developed for many years is amazing, and this excellency that you have really share that with all of the farms in Brazil, all over the world. So receive our hugs, and we are very proud to have you part as a part of the Brazilian cattle. Thank you so much for your trust. Have a lot of success in your auction. I hope that you get the fruits of your work. Thank you so much, Claudio, Alan, Manzão, and you, my friend, that is there participating with us in Expo Genetics. You cannot, if you are not here in person, you can participate in our virtual fair. And until next year, when we are going to be able to have you here with us and receive our hug in person. So thank you so much for sharing this time here with us. Don't miss it. We're going to have many more lives, many more information that are going to be shared with you. And I wait for you in the next days. Thank you. Bye bye.